Hey YouTube, Film Geek here, and today I decided to change the video a little bit. Generally at the end of the week, I end up doing a top 10 favorites video, but today I decided to do something a little bit different, and that is top 10 underrated action films. The other night, I ended up coming up with a list of my top 10 all-time favorite action movies. All Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, you know, your typical kind of action flicks, when I realized that those kind of movies deserve their own list. I need to make a top 10 Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, top 10 Sylvester Stallone movies, so on. What I decided to do this week was give you 10 films I feel are underrated in the action film genre. Films are in no particular order. This isn't really a countdown. This is more or less just these are 10 films that I really like, that I feel are underrated, and I really think that you guys would enjoy also. Get this started off. The first movie I'm going to talk about is 2003's The Rundown.
Get away from me! Get here, monkey! Get here, monkey! Oh no! I hate this place. I hate penis-eating minnows, and I hate freaky feet.
The Rundown is starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Sean William Scott, and Christopher Walken. In this movie, The Rock plays a guy who solves situations, finds things, and deals with the problem. He's hired to hunt down Sean William Scott in Brazil. Christopher Walken puts on a performance that is unparalleled. A villain that really would have been kind of bland if anybody else would have played him. Only The Rock's second movie that he made. And I only saw this movie when it came out in theaters because I really like The Rock. I'm a fan of WWE. The Rock in that time period was one of my favorite wrestlers, and here he is in a movie. I'm like, sign me the freak up. And then my fandom of The Rock began as a movie star. Number 2 on this really not being rated movies list is a 1998 film starring Robert De Niro, and that is Ronan.
That's what it says in the Bible.
You ever kill anybody?
I hurt somebody's feelings once.
Ronan is a spy CIA kind of flick, has some of the all-time best car chase sequences ever put to film. This movie was directed by John Frankenheimer. This movie just didn't really wow him at the box office, didn't do so great in the theaters, however it did have a second life on DVD and video. Retired government operatives who get together to help someone out find a briefcase that has some very sensitive information in it. They hired 300 stunt drivers to perform all of these different car chase sequences. The movie is one of those just hidden away little gems that no one ever talks about, but I really think that you guys should check out. That again is 1998's Ronan, starring Robert De Niro, and Sean Bean. The third movie on this list is a bit more recent, and that's 2018's Upgrade.
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
Upgrade is starring Logan Marshall Green and was directed by Lee Wanell. Upgrade is a sci-fi action film about a man who's injured in a car accident that leaves him paralyzed from the neck down. His wife also passes away in the accident. While the man is lying in a hospital bed, he's offered the opportunity to walk again by having an experimental chip placed into his spine. This chip possesses AI, which allows him not only to communicate with him, but also to take complete control of his body. And when the chip takes complete control of his body, he is turned into a man-slaughtering machine. Some of the most amazing action film kills that I have ever seen. If you want to watch a great action film that keeps your eyes glued to the screen, check out 2018's Upgrade. That brings us to number 4. Number 4 on the list of underappreciated gems, hidden nuggets, and so on is 2007's Shoot 'Em Up.
Bravo, Mr. Hero, bravo.
had the pleasure of seeing Shoot 'Em Up, then you know exactly what makes this movie absolutely fantastic. And that is, it is non-stop action. This movie is an action film for people who really love guns. Shoot 'Em Up is starring Clive Owens and Paul Giovanni, directed and written by Michael Davis. Clive Owens plays a man who helps out a pregnant woman who is being chased by some hitmen. The gunplay in this movie is unparalleled. I mean, it is astounding. There's also some other really interesting things in this movie, like for instance, go ahead and start counting all of the Looney Tune references. See if you can find them all. There's a ton. Michael Davis didn't want to make your normal run-of-the-mill action film. And so in order to do that, he had 3 rules. 1, no explosions. 2, action must be gun-centric. 3, include as many different kinds of gunfights as you possibly can. Shoot 'Em Up, you need to check this movie out. That brings us to my next movie, 2012's Dredd.
Shit.
Not the Sylvester Stallone, Judge Dredd, just plain Dredd. This movie was directed by Pete Travis, starring Carl Urban as Dredd. Dredd is a extremely amazing, stylized action film with tons of violence, tons of blood. The movie is based off of the comic book series Judge Dredd, and this is a lot more faithful to the source material than the 90s Sylvester Stallone film. This is an action lover's action film. It's just so awesome. The way this film is shot, the use of slow motion, just so many mind-blowing things. You love well-orchestrated violence, if you like really cool, slowed down shots, and you also like a grunting guy who never takes off his helmet, then you need to check out 2012's Dredd. Up on the list, we travel back to the 1985 with Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, and sadly ended.
Ta-da!
Remo Williams is starring Fred Ward as Remo Williams. What is Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins? The story of an ex-New York cop. He gets subtly put into a assassins group known as The Cure. Remo Williams is just absolute 80s action fun. If you happen across this movie, which is on Tubi for free right now, check out Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins if you love 80s action films. Next up is From Paris with Love, starring John Poppycock Travolta.
These are dragon heads. I think we should just buy what they're selling and get the hell out of here.
Oh man, I just gave you a straight up Hong Kong Shaw Brothers Kung Fu motherfucking chop suey show, and you're worried about this candy ass street gang.
That was against kitchen staff.
Kitchen staff? There's no kitchen staff shedding lead like that. No kitchen staff, hoss.
This is an over-the-top, crazy CIA, I guess, film. To be perfectly honest, I don't really remember nor care why John Travolta ends up in Paris and starts shooting everybody known to mankind, because that's not really why I watched this movie. I watched this movie because it's John Travolta shooting up every freaking guy he sees. It's an action film that has stupid little one-liners, John Travolta, well, doing John Travolting. Action at its finest, very well shot, great car chase sequences through the streets of Paris. I mean, if you enjoy watching John Travolta act like a madman, make stupid little jokes, then this is a movie right up your alley. This movie on my underrated action films list is Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai from 1999. directed by Jim Jarmusch and starring Forrest Whitaker. Ghost Dog is a hitman who lives by the code of a samurai. But when his own boss turns on him, Ghost Dog then turns on all the mob leaders, going on a massive killing spree. Now, this movie is not something that I would call a super action-packed action film. It has a lot of dialogue. It has a lot of slow moments. But it also has some really great action too. Another fun thing about this movie is the soundtrack is done by RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan, and he even has a small cameo in the film. Forrest Whitaker is a great actor who can really keep a scene driving even when there's not a lot of action in a film. The scenes where the action does have to happen delivers in spades, and Forrest Whitaker delivers a fantastic performance of this mob hitman. Now we travel back to the 80s again with 1988's Action Jackson.
So, why do they call you Action?
Action Jackson is a way underrated 80s action film that I really don't hear anybody talking about. This movie is starring Carl Weathers, where he plays Action Jackson, Detroit's toughest cop. And you find that out right in the very beginning of the movie. Not because you see him do something, no, because two other uniformed cops telling a criminal in the back seat of their police car just how bad Action Jackson really is. Alright, so this movie is just another one of those great, over-the-top 80s cop, I'm not listening to you, Commissioner, you can't tell me what to do. That brings me to the last movie that I'm going to talk to you about today. What could that possibly be? What is that last little hidden gem action film that he's going to talk about here on the Film Geek? What could it possibly be? Well, I'll tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be 2001 Swordfish. Alright, now, this is just my opinion, okay? I really don't care what the critics say. I know this movie was not well received. I know the critics just bombed it. I know that it was a financial failure. But I do consider this movie an underrated film. Now look, I don't know much about computers, I really don't, but this movie is filled with that NCIS computer hacker lingo. Alright, so this movie is starring John Travolta. John Travolta, there he is again. Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry coming off of that sweet, sweet little film known as The X-Men. The centers around a computer hacker played by Hugh Jackman, who is recruited by John Travolta to hack into some government files so they can steal billions and billions of dollars from a failed government operation known as Swordfish. Swordfish is taken from a throwaway line, actually, that's in a Marx Brothers film. Who knew? Why do I like this movie? Well, because it's just fun. Again, there we are. I'm sorry, folks. I like movies that are fun. I wish I was sitting here talking about how deep and intellectually and stimulating movies are, but sometimes I just go, yeah, I just don't want my brain to work for a while. Swordfish is filled with silly hacker lingo. If you haven't seen Swordfish, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Don't believe the bad hype. Swordfish is an enjoyable film. You'll get something entertainment out of it, and you'll get to see young Hugh Jackman again, ladies. Young Hugh Jackman. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of my video. Thanks again for watching. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. And you know what, folks? Keep watching movies, folks, because you know I'm gonna.